Hey everyone, Spot of Nerd here, and we have got one of the most epic reviews to date, and I'm really excited because it's been so long since I can tell you that I've seen a great film, that I finally get to tell you about a great film. Lo and behold, it has something to do with horribleness, but you'll get it in a minute. Because we are going to talk about politics in this episode, so I fair warn you right here and now, if you don't like that or my interpretation of that, I'm pretty sure if you're subscribing, you kind of know where I lie. If you don't, wow. But anyway, we're going to review Civil War. Now, Civil War came out in April of this year, so it's definitely been a few months since this movie has been in theaters, yada yada yada. Cut a long story short, it is now officially on Max, and I got some time, and I figured let's check this movie out. I didn't really catch too much of the hoopla, hippity bippity, but whatever you want to call it, when it first came out. I thought it was going to be the cliche propaganda, the cliche politics, the agendas, everything so on and so forth, and the best part about this film is that it has absolutely nothing to do with any of it. Thank you God, thank you Jesus, holy shit, it is about fucking time Hollywood just gives us a good fucking movie. Now, like all other reviews right now, this is gonna have very few edits, bear with me. We have 2 more days left with San Diego Comic-Con 2024. I'm loving every second of editing those videos because it just reminisces, that's the word, right? About that time and that hopefully in the future, because this coming week, it's the week before pre-registration tickets go on sale. I pray to God, please get me badges so I can go next year. Please, sincerely, yours truly, Spot of Nerd, amen, all that good stuff. Thank you, amen, God bless. Seriously, I love it, and I hope you're enjoying them. 3 days are out so far. Day 1, 2, and 3 are currently streaming on the channel, so go and check them out if you haven't. And if you love comic conventions, I promise you it is nothing but awesome. So, like all recent episodes, reviews, again, very few edits. This will be more of a rapid-fire review, but at the same time, added with a little sprinkling of politics at the end. Lo and behold, that's just how it is. If I would love you so much if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button right down below. Even if you hate this face, if you hate it with a passion because of my viewpoints on politics, hit that subscribe button just to spite me. I dare you, hit it. Just hit the subscribe button. I also appreciate the likes, the comments, the whole 9 yards. Super amazing awesomeness to everybody that is following, everybody that's subscribing. I super appreciate it. I read all the comments, even the negatives, but trust me, it's just great fun and I love doing this, so keep it up. But to Civil War, to Civil fucking War. Now, you know this channel, you know me. Details might not go too far into it, but we'll just focus on the main 3 characters. Kristen Dunst, is that her name? We'll just say original Spider-Man. There is the guy, which the only thing I remember him from was he's in Elysium, if you remember that film with Matt Damon. So we're going to call him Matt Damon. And the young girl is Alien Romulus. So those are the 3 characters that we're going to talk about in talking about Civil War. You've got Spider-Man, Matt Damon, Alien Romulus. Just so we're on the same page. As I've said many times, and I'll say this forever, I don't care. You can look this shit up, what their names are. Sure, could I do it? Probably. Maybe one day I will. When we get back to the normal editing techniques, probably we'll look this shit up. For now, pretty obvious you know who I'm talking about if you've seen this film. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers. Just your heads up there, because, again, it's just spoiling if you haven't seen the movie yet. So, let me give you the synopsis of Civil War. I thought this was going to be chock full of woke propaganda, blah, 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 blah. Luckily, it wasn't. So, what is it about? It's about a civil war in today's world, in today's America. It's a, what's the verbiage I've seen? Dystopian future is the right thing to say, I guess, of some kind. But anyway, it is It's focusing, imagine if there truly was a civil war in America right here, right now. In the way like with your iPhone, your technology, computers, blah 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 blah. So the basis is you have a president, which is it Ron? No, not the guy. He was in Parks and we'll just call him Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is the president, and apparently he is getting a third term, which that's what creates this civil war because of the tyranny. So it's the reason I'm kind of hesitating. I'm trying to figure out how the best to explain it. Simplistically, California and Texas have united on I think it was like the Western Front. I'm thinking of that movie, but okay. Either way, so California and Texas unite to basically try and overthrow the government, hence a civil war, because Parks and Rec wants a third term and he thinks he's the best thing ever and he has his own army and yada yada. So thus you have a civil war between California, Texas uniting, and the rest of the country. It is amazing. So the entire story is based off these three characters who are the press. They're reporters. They are taking pictures of all the violence, all the horribleness that's going on. You have Spider-Man, Kristen Dunst, who is kind of the main focus. She's the main press gal. She's got the experience. She's got the history of when the war first started all the way up till now. And then her co-worker person is, of course, Matt Damon. And they've been doing this for a while, since the war started. And they meet up with Alien Romulus gal. Alien Romulus gal looks up to Kristen Dunst because, she wants to be like her and be the press and photographer, yada, yada, yada. Spider-Man wants nothing to do with her. So their entire goal, though, was, in the beginning, Kristen Dunst or Spider-Man and Matt Damon, they want an interview with the president. Because obviously they're on California, Texas side. They want to get to the president, even if it means they die. They just want to get to the president just so they can have an interview basically saying, why are you doing this? Why are you, you actually come to find out the president authorized military strikes on American civilians. It's fucking crazy shit like that, but incredible. So the entire movie is them starting off across the country to get to Washington, D.C. with the White House, and they're going to interview the president. But obviously throughout the course of the film, they run into things. They're running into people that have completely taken over towns, and they're torturing people, that are going against the grain, or maybe somebody that's stolen something from their ranch and stuff like that. They also come across snipers, that try to kill them. They come across refugee camps where people are just trying to survive because, again, think of the America today has been completely destroyed. It really has been destroyed, and everything's burning and very post-apocalyptic, but more realistic. I think that's where I give this, and no joke, I'm not shitting you. I'm going to give this movie 3 cups of tea. 3 cups of tea out of 4 from your spot of nerd, because it's just that great. The realism factor, even though this is totally fictitious, this is clearly, at the same time, let's be honest, maybe not so much. Coming up, who knows? I pray to God this never happens, but the realism behind it, of the fact that, this could really fucking happen, and it's scary ass shit to think about. It really, really is. Please protect yourself out there, especially with recent things going on. But we're gonna get to that. They're traveling to DC and they're running into all this crazy shit. There's even one scene where they come across we'll just call him Breaking Bad. Look him up. The blonde guy who tortures, oh shit, I forget his name. The guy making crack who Bryan Cranston? The other dude. Yeah, and look it up. Just look up the cast, you'll know who I'm talking about. So he's obviously very pro-America, and there's this giant gravesite of just bodies everywhere. And of course, they capture Alien Romulus and some other people they just find on the road that used to be friends, press friends, etc. And this dude is just whacked out of his mind. So he's a military guy, totally whacked out of his mind. And he's basically dumping hundreds of thousands of bodies in these giant holes. There's the word for it, I forget, but you know what I'm talking about. So when they're going through, they're trying to like say, please don't hurt our friend, Alien Romulus, da 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 da. And he's asking, well, where are you from? Where are you from? Because he wants to know, like, are you American or are you somebody else? And it's a complete mindfuck in relation to just like, obviously one of the guys says, well, I'm originally from Hong Kong, and then boom, pops him right then and there. Because yeah, let's be honest, there are those people out there. I'm not saying these are good people. They are horrible people. Clearly this guy is a villain. He's a horrible fucking person that needs to die. But like, that's the type of shit that exists. And even though this is, again, a fictitious film, you can see where they're kind of bouncing off of society today in relation to what really is going on. Evil exists. I know this is a really hard concept for a lot of people out there to comprehend. Evil exists, and a lot of that evil is in people. The sooner you figure that out, the sooner your life can actually be better. And I really mean that, just from the perspective of, once you realize the way the world is, trust me, you can look out for it. If anything, you might even be able to make it better in whichever way possible you think that might be. But that's for another time. We'll do that later. Obviously, there was another guy with them. I'm not going to talk too much about him. Larger, older guy. You'll know who he is. Again, I've seen him before. I couldn't for the life of me tell you what he's been in, but he eventually dies because he takes out this military guy and saves the day, and they escape, but he got shot, so he dies, and they move on. What I want to get to, though, before we get to the politics, and we'll wrap this episode up, at the end of this film is one of the best sequences I have ever seen in a film. Now, I was actually told there are some people that are very similar mindset to myself, who are military people, etc., so on and so forth, and I actually appreciated their feedback when we were discussing this online, because, you know, as military personnel, they're kind of basically talking shit about how fake the film is and how terrible, like, if there was ever a SEAL team or military group, you know, trying to storm the Capitol, trying to storm the White House, they would never do it the way they did in the film. Like, and I understand that. It's one of those, like, you kind of see the film and you're like, oh my god, this is one of the best sequences I've ever seen in a movie, which we'll get to here in a second. But then you start talking to people in real life about, is this something that would actually happen? And they're like, dude, no, this is fucking stupid. It would never, ever happen like that. Trust me. So it doesn't ruin it, but at the same time, it just kind of puts the perspective of like, if this, again, really did happen, odds are it would go a completely different direction, if that makes sense. So the final sequence in this film is, obviously, the three of them have gotten to the White House, and there's this big battle, as in, like, they found the president, he's at the White House, and they're making this one last stand, you know? Obviously, the news and the media are telling everybody that, you know, the president's side, the evil side, is winning. They're obviously taking over, and they're this close to ending the war, and yada, 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 but these Western fronts, Texas and California, they're making one last charge to try and literally kill the president, because he's so tyrannical, he's so crazy and like power hungry. He needs to be stopped, and the way they're going to stop him is by killing him. So they storm the fucking White House. It is an absolutely insane film ending sequence that I've ever witnessed in my entire life. It starts off with them obviously like in the city, Washington DC, and it's just this huge battle going on between both sides. And in the middle of it, you have these three press. You have Matt Damon, Aliens, and Spider-Man. And they're trying to get these pictures of everything that's going on. And it's complete mindfuck, because they're obviously following behind the soldiers, like the soldiers are trying to protect them, and they break through the walls. Like there's this giant wall that was built to protect the president and like his side of things. Think of like Germany, you know, back in history. Berlin Wall, I think it was, but like hugely massive and war-stopping stuff, if words could make sense right now. You kind of get what I mean. So they break through this wall, and then a decoy, so you know the president's vehicle, the limousine, they send a decoy limousine out, and obviously the Western Front, the Texas, California, they start blowing this shit to pieces, and It's amazing because everybody that comes out of these cars, they're just popping with bullets, just popping them left and right because they need these people to stop what they're doing so that they can get back to quote unquote civilized life in America. They need this war to end. And the only way this war is going to end is with the death of the president as well as his followers, specifically in the administration, I guess, if you think about it. So the press people, Spider-Man's like, no, he's not in that car. He's still in the White House. He's still in the White House. And the three of them, they actually go first into the White House to try and find what's really going on. And of course, the military follows right behind. And you follow them through the White House. Now, obviously, I don't know what the realization is like between real life White House and movie White House, but they just follow them as they are literally clearing each room. So, you know, there's Secret Service people that are still like gung-ho about the president and they will literally die for him, which they do. So these service people are just like, all right, clear, next room, pop, 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 clear, pop, 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 pop. Fucking amazing. Seriously, people, fucking amazing. They finally get to the president and he's all like scared shitless and, you know, he doesn't know what's going on. And one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a movie, seriously, to this day, one of the greatest scenes in film history, is Matt Damon goes up and right before the soldiers are about to kill the president, he's like, wait. I need one quote before you move forward. I need one quote. And the president's scared out of his mind, basically says something along the lines of, please don't let them kill me. And then the Matt Damon guy goes, that'll do. And just pop, 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 pop. And they blow the president away. So fucking dope. You might be a little cautiously worried that why am I getting so excited and passionate about violence and death? It's because it's so different. At the same time, it's so real. And I know, I don't really know how to separate that too in relation to this film specifically, just in relation to the fact that everything going on right now in the world, and we're going to wrap this episode up, and you know where we're going with this, because just this past weekend, or whenever you're watching this, there has officially now been a second attempt on President Trump's life. That is something we can go down a bazillion miles, a bazillion plethoras of paths, and discuss things and so on and so forth. But we are literally... I see this film, this Civil War film, and I see how it's portrayed. I see the violence. I see the horribleness. I see the suffering of people. I see these three main characters that are like trying to show the real story behind it, as much as we think of the media today, which are just a bunch of fools and idiots and liars and everything in between. They want to tell the story of what's really happening. And it's incredible because you look at the way the world is today in America and we're not that far off, in my opinion. I don't ever want this to ever happen. Let me just be very, very clear. Violence is never, ever, ever the answer. Ever the answer. Violence, hate, discrimination, the whole 9 yards is never the fucking answer. But I cannot say that the way this movie is done is just so mind-blowingly like, holy crap. If it did happen, this is how it would do it. This is how it would happen. And it just is like, wow, what would you do right here, right now? If the Civil War II broke out in America, what would you do? It's scary to think of, like, where are you going to get your medications? Where are you going to get your food? What about your electricity? How are you going to take care of your kids? It's mind-boggling to think about, but it's also the saddest reality. It is something you need to think about because there has been a second attempt at a man's life, but yet supposedly, according to the media, according to the news, according to social media and everything else between, I thought he was Hitler. I thought he was a threat to democracy. Why is he the only one that basically is trying to be shot at? Why is he the only one that people are trying to kill? The current sitting president is sitting on a beach for 8 hours a day fast asleep, and nobody seems to blink an eye. This man decides to go for a round of golf, and all of a sudden he's got a guy that's been perched up in a tree for 12 hours. Kind of makes you start to wonder. Lo and behold, the one prior to this, oh, we didn't do anything because it was on a slope that basically had the grade of something that, you know, somebody with accessibility needs could get over. You gotta start thinking about this shit. And I really, again, let me be very clear. I'm separating the movie from reality. Please understand that, if anything else. But what is going on right now in the world should hopefully, and I don't mean that legitimately, I mean the hopefully sense of like, I hope you're paying attention. I really do, because I hope you are paying attention enough to say, no, that's not okay. We can disagree on things and opinions on politics and whatever, even some of this stuff here. Movies. Look at Furiosa on this channel. Jesus. The hate that I got for that. But there's a difference between a difference of opinion and violence. Pretty big. You know how they say sometimes that metaphoric line? That's a big ass fucking line between violence and just simple disagreement, if you ask me. Big fucking line. And I mean that in a metaphor. It should never, it should be impossible to cross that line. But unfortunately, there are people specifically that are trying to take the life of a certain presidential candidate that are taking it to the extreme. And that is never okay. Never, ever, ever, ever okay. So, I will simply just say that, and I'll end this episode pretty much in a few minutes here. Bear with me here. I appreciate you so much if you got this far and you're still listening. But back to the movie and we'll wrap it up. Civil War, incredibly visually done, amazing. Sorry, there's words up here that are not coming out here. Absolutely incredible. Casting, amazing. Spider-Man, we haven't seen her in forever, and she nailed every part of that role. Alien Romulus, I don't really know her very much, but again, she is a superstar. She is going to be incredible in the future. She's like Jenna Ortega Part 2. The other guy, Matt Damon, again, you'll know him when you see him. I haven't really seen much of his work, but either way, he still portrayed an amazing side of what the human, you know, just from the the psychological aspect of the shit that they saw as they made their way to DC is just wow, unbelievable. But regardless of it, the three of them, they, no matter where they were, no matter what they were doing, they always made sure they got the shot in terms of the photo, because they needed to tell that story, that what was going on, this quote unquote civil war, was ridiculous and it should have never happened. And thank God they were able to finally end the horribleness at the end of the film by taking out the president. Now, obviously, nobody wants war or loss of life and everything in between, but in that situation, again, fictionally, that's the only way it can happen, is by doing what they had to do. And you don't really find out what happens after that. They just kind of end the film with credits. But I would highly, highly, highly recommend this film to anybody that hasn't seen it yet. And like I said from the beginning throughout this whole review, mainly on a few basic things. The realism factor in relation to truly what's going on today. The fact that they didn't tap onto any side. There's no realistic like left politics, right politics. No, this is completely fictitious. Do you honestly think if the Civil War happened that California and Texas would join forces? Really? Come on. So it's like, I gotta give the director credit, because you almost could tell they didn't want to tap on that. They didn't want to touch today's world in relation to that, because I fell for it. The moment you heard about it, I was like, oh, you know that's going to be just nothing but today's politics and agendas. And it really wasn't. It wasn't. It's just a damn good fucking film about three reporters that are trying to get an interview with a president that wants a third term that's created this civil war in America. It's fucking amazing. It truly is fucking amazing. Go and check it out. Seriously, people, you will not be disappointed. Hand to God, I promise. So, I'm going to end this episode. I just huge thanks. Super duper into pooper thanks if you made it this far. You guys rock. We will continue the awesome that is Spot of Nerd as we continue on through what is going to be a crazy ass election season, and we'll get to that here momentarily, I promise, as it gets closer to November. We got a lot to talk about. But there's also more we need to talk about too in relation to the review aspects, because I also want to tap into, we had the final episode of the Grand Tour. Mr. Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. I'm going to do a special video for them because they deserve it. And I just want to say I watched the final episode, and it's currently streaming on Amazon Prime if you have that. If you are a huge fan of the original Top Gear and you're a fan of the Grand Tour, you will cry your eyes out. I salute them. They are God's gift to the world. They are something incredibly special, and my heart goes out to them because they've been doing it for so long. They are what defines friendship, and my God, what I would not give to have that kind of friendship with somebody. And I did have that with somebody. Unfortunately, he passed away, but we'll talk about it in that episode. So stay tuned, folks, because you do not want to miss the incredible stuff that we're going to talk about in the future. Until next time, though, we will see you guys next time. Later, y'all. Okay, here's the perfect end credit scene. If you wanted to get an idea of maybe some of the graphic nature of this Civil War film, in the first 5 minutes of this Civil War film, somebody is lit on fire. And no, you might think, oh my God, that's horrible. Which it's fucking horrible. It's in slow motion. So literally, they get a guy, they put him on his knees, they pour lighter fluid on him, and they light him on fire. And it's slowed down. That's fucked up. Fucked up.